You're listening to the Anxious Scholar Podcast, a podcast for anxious scholars. If you're a high school student who can't wait to go to university, but also is kind of overwhelmed with lots of unanswered questions like me, then you've definitely come to the right place. On this podcast, I sit down with EJM alumni while they share valuable advice from this exciting journey of theirs that we have yet to take. I really hope you'll enjoy this episode and learn lots of useful information about the college application process, unis, and higher education in general. So hello, Charles.
Hello.
Thank you for coming on the podcast. It's great to have you. You've been at École Emmanuel since 2016, and now you've just started your studies at LSE here in London.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll talk about the program that you're doing, your impressions of the school, your application process, and also your time at EJM.
Mm-hmm.
But before we start, I was wondering if you could say a few words about yourself. Where you were born, what languages you speak.
Yeah, sure. My name is Charles Confino. I graduated in 2023, so it's my first year at university at LSE. I was born in Versailles. I'm not as posh as it sounds, I promise. I think like the majority of people at EJM, I speak French and English. I mean, not the majority, but many of them. I have a good level in Spanish, and I wouldn't brag about having a good level in Chinese. And that means that from sixième to seconde SCV, I really worked at it, and then there was other classes I privileged over that. So I wouldn't say I have such a good level in Chinese, but I have some basic stuff. About my spécialité, I took mathematics, SGSB, and SES, and I dropped SES eventually in première because there's too much sociology for me. I was really into economics, and it annoyed me that out of the 12 chapters, there's only 5 about economics. And I also had like a great SGSB teacher, but we'll come back to that later. And and that's about it. Now I'm just a normal student going through his first year and trying to settle and find a new equilibrium at the LSE. So yeah, that's about it.
Thank you for this introduction. So you're studying, you're doing the Bachelor of Science of Politics and Economics at LSE. What made you want to choose this program?
Well, how to say, first of all, I was really unsure. I mean, I'm like probably loads of students, I really didn't know what I wanted to study. As a matter of fact, I chose to apply for politics and economics like in last September, so actually quite late. And just thought about, okay, what do you enjoy most, like academically, what do you like learning about the most? And it was politics and economics. And I really wanted to study these two disciplines together, not separately, because I wanted to get to know better what shaped different economies, how does it work? And also I wanted to study political thought and, maybe I was slightly ambitious, but I did really want to understand the different school of thoughts in order to have a better understanding myself of our current political situation around the world, in France too, and also to have a certain idea for myself about what I think is the best political system for in our new modern world. But it is quite complex. I thought I had such a sort of an idea, and I've started taking the political theory and political science courses at LSE, and now I realize that I don't know literally anything about it. But it is exciting. It's very, very cool. I'm learning with great teachers, some really fascinating stuff every week. So I'm very glad to. And economics, I thought I would be okay, and I'm getting absolutely distracted at the moment. But I think I'll be there, and it is fairly
early.
Very interesting. But that's why I chose it.
Could you tell us a little bit more about this program? What courses it consists of? If it's like 50-50 politics, economics?
Sure. Okay, so I have basically 4 units, 4 points, that's 4 credits, that's the way I would put it. So 2 of these credits are politics courses. So one is called Introduction to Political Theory. So it's really political philosophy, if not only philosophy. For example, I'm only into week 5, so I don't have a lot of perspective, but so far we've been studying Aristotle and Plato about the idea of justice. What is a just city? What is a just citizen? Is slavery natural, for example? Is it justified, yes or no? I mean, obviously you would think no, but it is interesting to see how Aristotle defends it, for example. So that's really a political philosophy course. We're studying a lot of thinkers that we did study last year in philosophy. So you're in première, but you'll see next year like Rousseau, Kant, Arendt, Hobbes, many of these thinkers, Aristotle, Plato, of course, you'll see them in political philosophy, if not only philosophy. It's very interesting. much more applied. You have Introduction to Political Science. So as it says, it's really trying to study politics with a scientific approach. That means as precise and the aim that I've been taught about of political science so far is really to study politics in a very scientific manner in order to establish some tendencies which allow us to have a better understanding of the discipline itself. So far we've been studying like why are some countries democratic, why are some countries under like dictatorships, and we've been presented to loads of different issues that really make the study of politics scientific, and that means that you can establish different dynamics, and it's fairly interesting. So now there's loads of things about political science. Now we're studying political preferences. Next week we're going to be studying about voting behavior, and in the future we're going to be like studying loads of different stuff about like what does it mean to be on the left, right axis in different countries, how is it different in every context. So it's very interesting and my favorite course so far. Then a fourth of our course is economics. So I thought politics and economics would be 50-50, but a fourth of our course is economics. There's two different courses, so half units. It's microeconomics and macroeconomics. And another fourth is mathematics and statistics. So 50% is politics and 50% is economics and mathematics. And so politics is mostly about readings. You have loads and loads of readings to do. You have to do them before going to lectures to better understand what the lecturer is talking about. The lecture does really help you understand the readings, though, because sometimes you're reading like 200 pages of the Republic, you're thinking like, what the hell is this guy talking about? And then the lecturer arrives and explains it pretty well. Whereas economics and math, there's not a lot of reading, so there's some videos to watch, but it's loads of problem sets in order to check if you understand like game theory, how does a rational individual make its decisions, labor supply, indifference curves, stuff like that. So it's different approaches and it's different ways of learning, but I think it complements quite well so far, and I'm really enjoying it so far.
Well, thank you for this like extensive description. I think this gives a really nice idea of the program. I was wondering if you applied to this and other programs in the UK, I imagine through the UCAS program, or if you maybe applied individually also.
No, I only did Parcoursup, I'll come back to that later, and UCAS. So I applied to King's in Political Economy, St Andrews in Economics and Sustainable Development, which I should not have done because it was sort of different from all the different programs, and it's the only school I got rejected from. LSE Politics and Economics, Warwick Economics, Politics and International Studies, and UCL ESPS. It's a program basically that combines one language and one social science, and there's also some core courses about like politics, philosophy, law, and history. So it allowed me to combine sort of politics and economics. And so I applied to them via UCAS, and I really tried to select some programs, except in St Andrews, that really were similar in order to be, in my personal statement, not struggle with having to like talk about loads of different stuff in order to like clue them in. Because when you apply to a program, when you want to study a specific subject, of course, in the personal statement, you have to talk about it. And really choosing sort of economics and politics everywhere, it allowed me to have an extensive personal statement about politics and economics, but we'll come back to that later. And so only in the UK, also where else I applied in France, or just in the UK?
We can talk about where you applied, for example, in other countries, but to come back to the personal statement, did you find that it was restricting to only choose programs where it was only politics and economics? Do you wish you could have had like more freedom?
Well, yes. It was quite restrictive and complicated. At first, I thought like, okay, 4,000 characters, what the hell, I'm going to talk about politics and economics. And once you do a first draft, second draft, you realize it's really, really concise, and there's like no space for like generalities or not very focused arguments about yourself, why you love the subject, etc., etc., etc. But yes, it was quite restrictive, and I would have liked to apply to sort of different programs and everywhere. And the proof is the only program where I applied to something sort of different, which is in St Andrews, economics and the sustainable development. Maybe I didn't have the level to get in. I'm not bragging about that, but the reason they gave me on UCAS, when you get rejected, you get a sort of reason. So it's a pre-typed message, but they said your personal statement was not as strong as the others. Whereas, of course, I had the economics part, but sustainable development, I basically had like 5 or 6 lines about an internship I made in a company that tried to have a more sustainable business model. And whereas I have other friends who got rejected from St Andrews, all of them, it was like too much competition, sorry, there's limited spots, use like really your personal statement. So yeah, it is quite restrictive, but I mean, I agree with you. It is very restrictive and sort of frustrating. But,
And other than this challenge of being restricted to like the same programs every time, overall, do you have like a piece of advice for students on writing the personal statement, like aspects to highlight, to put into value?
Okay, yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, a document I can share with everyone that actually helped me for my personal statement is a document provided by the LSE, which is called Advising the Advisors. It's a document they released in 2019. It's a 40 pages long PDF. Not so long really, it's like short notes. I advise everyone to go there if you're applying to LSE or any other university. It really tells you about what they expect from the personal statements, errors to not do. They really highlight what they want to see. For example, like critical thinking, not basically saying, oh, I read this, I read that. For example, I quoted some books and chapters from books I mentioned, and then I tried them to link them together, put them into perspective, and show really like critical thinking and critical thought. And it's important to show that you can assess the readings you did. But the most important thing I would say for the personal statement is really staying on track and close to the subject you're studying. I mean, of course, it's complicated, and if you're unsure about what you want to study, maybe you want to like apply to different programs. But if you really can apply for the sort of same program in different universities and stay to the same like in your personal statement, stay as relevant to the courses you've chosen as possible, it really makes a difference. I have like so many friends that are really like genuinely, I think they're really brilliant and so much smarter than me, but because in their personal statements they started like trying to be original or like trying to sort of like go off topic, they got rejected. And I really think that what made the difference for me was my personal statement, and that means that I discussed only economics and politics and sort of extracurricular too. You can talk about it in the end, not too much, maximum I'd say 15-20%, but staying on track of the courses and expressing how much you love them, how much you've read about them, how much you know about them, and how much you're motivated to study them. Really, it probably sounds stupid, but it is what makes the difference in the end. So I would advise stay as close to the topic as possible. Go check the Advising the Advisor of LSE. And also an advice I can give, for example, I don't know about other universities, but for example, for LSE, be smart about the programs that you choose. For example, Politics and International Relations at LSE, there's 1,000 applicants, 3% acceptance rate. So very small. Politics only, it's 10% acceptance rate, 300 applicants. So you may think, okay, but in Politics and International Relations, you do Politics and International Relations, whereas in Politics, you only do Politics. No, specifically. The name is Politics, so it maybe doesn't sound as fancy, but you got some core courses of politics, and then you got options you can choose, and you can choose like options about international relations, and in the end, pretty much end up studying the same thing. And it's much easier to get in. I mean, it's less challenging, and that means that there's less people apply and a bigger acceptance rate. So be smart. For any university you're applying, check different programs, how they're moduled, how they're structured, and try to be smart, like try to, if you really want to get into university, try to make the optimal choice between like what you like and what's the smartest to pick. Okay.
Thank you for the reference and the advice. I will link it in the description. And for LSE specifically, were there any other additional requirements for the application, like additional assignments, interviews, maybe?
There wasn't any interviews, and I think when you get an offer from the UK, I think everyone is sort of expected to take the TOEFL or the IELTS. So I took the IELTS. I thought, okay, cool, you're at EJM, you've been bilingual for like 10 years, you're going to ace it. But it actually is challenging, and it means that they require you to have 7 out of 9, not on average, on like the 4 different, there's like Spanish, DLB2 and HSK, there's like listening, writing, reading, and oral expression, and really prepare it before. I mean, you guys, if you're bilingual, you'll be okay, but it is tricky. It is tricky, so do prepare in advance. In the end, I nearly not missed out on my offer, but like I got 7 out of 9 on like 2 of the different components. I did get the requirements, but it is challenging, so do prepare for it before. But other than that, no additional exam or stuff like that. No interviews. LSE doesn't do interviews. So for LSE, that's why it's even more important. You don't get any interviews, so really put the effort into the personal statement. I cannot emphasize how important it is. Your personal statement, it doesn't have to be like extraordinary, but really strong academically, and show passion and envy, and show that you've done your researches and you can assess different readers and think critically. It is so important. I'm a bit repetitive, but for anyone like studying in the UK, it is what's going to make the difference in the end with everyone. It's your personal statement, because all the other stuff, it's long term about whether you have good grades or not. Well, I encourage you to work very hard, of course, and have good grades, but that personal statement is your one shot to actually make the difference. And yeah, that was my advice for it.
And you mentioned how you applied also to France. Could you tell us a little bit about how this worked, how this application worked, and maybe if you applied to other countries also?
Okay, in terms of other countries, I started to apply to McGill, but it sort of annoyed me as every time they were asking extra documents, blah, blah, blah. And at some point I got an offer from UCL, and I was really happy. And I rated UCL more than McGill, and so I decided to withdraw my application. I considered applying to Bocconi in the end, but also I got my UCL offer, so I didn't do it in the end. And no, to be fair, I only really considered France and UK. And it means that I think in France, there's a, quality price ratio in terms of education and what we have access to, which is amazing. In the UK, which is also very nice too, compared to the US, like US universities are amazing. I'm not going to deny that, but I thought it was maybe the ratio between quality and price was a bit better in the UK. But I'm great if you apply to the US. I probably should have done it. Well, I don't know, but I didn't do it in the end. And in France, yeah, so I mostly applied to des classes prépa, so classe préparatoire to business schools. I'm sure you guys heard about it. I basically took all the best and applied, and I got rejected from the 4 best, which are like Louis le Grand, Henri IV, Danielou, and Ginette. And then I got accepted to Stanislas, which I was very, very happy. I nearly went in the end, but I decided to opt for LSE because I thought it would like open more doors, and I want to work quickly. I don't want to like do 2 to 3 years of prépa and then 3 years of schools, whereas here I'm probably going to start my career in the UK, or at least not in France. And you do your bachelor, and generally you start working when you're 20, whereas if you stay in France, it comes much later. In the UK, you do your masters when you're much later, like once you're into a company, they can even pay for your masters. And yeah, that's what made the decisions. I also applied to Dauphine and different double degrees at like La Sorbonne and stuff like that. But in the end, it was really about either prépa at Stanislas or LSE. Also, about saying Stanislas, I've been told all the time, Stanislas, it's a very French educational system. You're never going to get in. Like they don't like EJM alumni. Well, I got in. So to be fair, just apply. Don't listen. If there's a school is appealing to you, just apply. Do not listen to anyone tell you you're never going to get in, or like you don't have the profile. Just apply. Yeah, it was.
You can also do it.
Yeah, exactly. Wherever that is in the world, if it's in the US or the UK, or I don't know. Like if a school is appealing to you, you appreciate it. I went to the open days. I love the school. Applied and got in. Although like. Not going to quote any names, but some teachers have told me, yeah, you don't have any chances of going it. Not going to quote anything, but for example, one specific prépa, I was told if you don't do math expert, you're not going to get in. That's just it.
Ginette, par exemple.
Non, pas Ginette. I mean, Ginette, yes.
Definitely.
I mean, I don't, sorry to break the news, but if you want to get into Ginette, do math expert because they don't take people. But I got into Notre-Dame du Grand Champ, which is the 6th or 5th best prépa in France. And some teachers told me, yeah, but if you don't do math expert, you're not going to get in. It's the only one I got in the first place. All the other ones on was waiting list, I got them. But so just be smart, of course. Like for Ginette, I think you need math expert to get in. To be fair, like if it opens doors, of course, to take math expert, but like don't like decide to quit an application because someone told you could not do it. Just go for it and do your best and see what you get taken in the end. So.
And in terms of more like academic requirements, for example, if we go back to LSE. If they do have like a precise kind of like minimum average, grade average, what is it? And if you don't mind sharing, what was yours?
Sure. Well, in terms of average, I don't remember like before première, but in première, I think I had like 16 and a half during the 2 first trimesters and 17 in the end. And in terminale, I really wanted to start like really strongly because it was the last bulletin I would send and that LSE would see, so I really worked and I got 17 and a half of average. So, but I think, yes, it's important to have good grades, but you can really make the difference on the personal statement. For example, I know like some people that got really better grades than me did not get into LSE, and some people that had like less good averages, I would put it that way, got some offers from LSE too. I think it's important to show a progression and show that you're good in all the different classes you're taking. For example, me, I considered at first taking an advisor and then I didn't, but he told me, all right, so you have a good average in this class, this class, this class. For example, enseignement scientifique, I was not good at it. I had like 12 of average, and he told me, come on, if you actually work a bit, like really put the pace, have a good average, show that you can like multitask and be good everywhere. So I worked for it, got a better average, and yeah. So I had a pretty good average, but it's not because you don't have like 18 or you're top of your class that you don't have a chance. Really, you can really make the difference on your personal statement, and I mean it. But of course, having a good grades and like having a good academic profile and good comments about teachers, it really makes a difference too. But it's not a whole. That's what I mean. It's not a whole. Like this one page letter, the personal statement, is as important as all you've did before.
And like you said, there is a clear emphasis on like grades and academics in the UK, I think specifically. But of course, extracurriculars are also very valuable. So I wanted to ask you what kind of activities you did outside of school in EJM. If you did some volunteering.
Yeah, sure. Well, I do not think at all I was the most proactive guy in terms of extracurriculars until Second. I did loads of football and rugby. I mean, mostly football. I did rugby for 2 years. So at that, then I had knee problems, and for like 1 or 2 years, and then when I didn't have them anymore, I decided that like I was a goalkeeper in football, so it was annoying. I just decided it was too much pressure. I didn't appreciate it anymore. And in terms of like other than sports, I did do some tutoring for 2 years, so it probably count. I didn't mention it; it was not in my college applications. But I just 2 hours per week. I helped an EJM alumni with his homeworks, and also gave him some lessons about like some stuff that he didn't understand perfectly well. I did also join an NGO called Grain Populaire, which is basically an NGO, an association, maybe not an NGO, whose goal is to basically make make it accessible, the fight like for sustainable development and the struggle against climate change accessible to everyone, including some people that don't have the economic means to do it because it is expensive. So I did participate a bit into that. I was not a proactive member, but I still did join it. And yeah, I think that's about it. So really, I was not at all the most proactive guy. So it's cool, of course. It probably, I don't know about in the US, but it does really help to boost your applications. But you can still make it through. You can still make it to top schools, even if you're not the guy, even if you're not l'abbé Pierre, if I may put it that way. Even if you don't go to like 10 different volunteering associations, you're not the head of the care committee at EJM, for example, you can make it. But it is important though to have it a bit, and it can only help you. So you can make it without it, but I encourage you to do it if you can.
And now you're studying in London, which is a city that really is active, that also helps you plunge into like the professional world maybe earlier. Have you had professional experiences before in the past, and are you maybe searching for those experiences right now?
Well, in terms of professional experiences, I wouldn't put the tutoring in there, although it was an experience. I still continue, by the way, to give some tutoring lessons in London now. I had my stage of troisième, seconde basically, which was fairly interesting. I did it in a startup, so it really provided me some insights, and it's maybe not my dream job, but I'm seriously considering to, in my future, go into entrepreneurship, so it really did provide me with some insight. And in terms of job search, well, I should be doing it technically so far. What I've been doing so far is going a lot to introductory talks about some guys, for example, in finance consulting who come to the LSE and give some 1 hour, 2 hour talks about what the job is about, what's their everyday life. For example, I went one, there was a consultancy talk, there was one about like investment banking, asset management, stuff like that. And there's a lot of pressure. I mean, you're greatly encouraged at the LSE to already start applying for spring weeks being some March internships. It's mostly relevant in finance. It's if you get that internship of 1 week, which you undergo a lot of exams, you have to CV, cover letters, different interviews. But if you get that internship, then the next summer you might get a summer internship from the firm, and if that goes well, then you might get a contract. And then your career is launched, and then you start like climbing up the ladders in finance. But it all starts with that March internship, that spring week, which is something you have to apply for and do in your first year. And if you don't do it, you really feel like pressure by the others, because all the finance bros, all the guys that do finance, are not even the finance people, but the ones that are interested in finance. There's a real pressure. I feel it personally. I'm sort of getting my head into it at the moment, but some guys are like so far ahead of me. I'm just trying to like find an equilibrium so far as a student. But that's not the case for all the jobs. For example, in consultancy, generally you start off with a summer internship, which only arrives in your second year, so you have more time for that. So if finance is not your thing, then cool, to be fair, because you have more time to enjoy yourself as a student in the first year and more time for your job application, internship applications. But for finance, it really starts now. I mean, you can just dip the March internship and just apply for a full-time job later or an internship, but it really helps to have that March internship.
So you mentioned how you can start working right now, especially in finance. How would your schedule let you kind of combine these two activities right now?
You have loads of time, to be fair, and if you're very independent, so that's different with the French system. For example, in high school or even prépa, where you work a lot. I'm not saying you don't work, but there's always someone around you. There's how to say, you just can't drop off. And that means that you need to work all the time. If you don't work, it's just going to be seen. Whereas in LSE, you're treated as an adult. I mean, of course, everybody is treated as an adult. But, for example, I have 15 hours of physical classes per week at LSE, and 11 hours are lectures, which you can skip. It's not required for you to go there. I mean, I highly advise to go to your lectures, but they're recorded, so you can watch them at home in your student room. I only have 4 hours of physical class. So that does leave you some time. You do have to do your readings. So if you do politics and international relations, I would say it's 200 to 300 pages of stuff to read every week. If you do math or economics or even STEM, I don't know, I'm not going to talk about the STEM because I don't know the STEM, but you have loads of exercises, problem sets, quizzes, midweek tasks to submit. But of course, you still have a lot of time for your extracurriculars. So for example, my goal is not to only stay with the Frenchies, but I did join the French Society, of course. And so every week there's a talk and there's a social. I joined rowing too. Not that nobody cares, but it's just about saying that you can join different societies and do loads of different stuff. And I feel I still have a lot of spare time, and I'm still, to some extent, inefficient in my time managing and doing my work. So I'm not into the work yet, but I really feel like you could combine work and university. It isn't an issue if you're determined. If you really know what you want, you can find the time to combine the two, to be fair. It's not an issue.
And like you said, compared to, for example, France and prépa, here you have the freedom to organize your time.
Yes.
And that can be a very advantageous.
You can either love it if you love freedom and doing things in your own rhythm, in your own tempo, in your own time. But if you're someone who likes to be supervised, get given homeworks and have loads of different classes, so you're forced to work, then it might be a bit scary. It does require some will to not drop out and start just casually skipping lectures and saying, don't care, I'm just not going to do that assignment. But it is truly different. But if you really want to succeed and you have good time managing skills, I'm sure you'll be fine, to be fair. There's no issues, no problems.
And now that you've lived here for studying here for a month, I believe, from the start of the year, what are your impressions about the school, its environment? Maybe a more concrete question, but for example, do you live on campus or outside in the city?
I'm in a LSE student accommodation hall, which is 25 minutes walk from campus. But I do try to work a lot on campus, because when I go back to my student room, I feel like I absolutely get no work done. So I generally go to the library or to the different buildings. I'm sure there's that in every university. The question was global impression of the university so far?
Sure, yeah.
If...
The people, the professors...
Really, you're how to say, you have to be independent, and that means that there's loads of independent work and you're required to work in your own time and find your own spaces, but there's still a lot of support available. You have office hours, just like at the LSE. So the lecturers, you can go at the end of the lecture and ask a question, but they're not the people that you're going to address. That you have class teachers, and they're basically your reference. So you can always go up to them and ask if you have an extra question, or actually have a dialogue or conversation with them. So that's really cool. You also have an academic mentor, which is someone, basically, if you have an issue with your program, or if you want to transfer programs, for example, he's the guy to contact. And what else you have? You also have a real psychological support center. So it's called LSE Life. It's basically it's sort of a place where you can go, and there's different workshops organized, for example, about how doing your referencing. Be very careful about that, because plagiarism and not like correctly quoting your sources is something that's taken very, very, very seriously in the UK. Even if you misquote, you can be expelled from the school. So they take it very seriously. It's important to that. But so they know it's an important issue, and they organize workshops about that. They organize workshops about how to conquer your reading list, how to work and how to manage your time more efficiently. They always hear if you need to talk to someone, there's always someone you can talk to. You have, like, for example, my wardens, which are basically the people in charge of the LSE accommodation hall where I'm staying at. You can always go up and talk to them. So I feel like you're really dropped in the middle of university, like organize yourself, go to your different, like, manage your time efficiently, but at the same time there's a lot of support that's provided mentally and also academically. There's always there's office hours organized. There's a math support center, there's I'm not sure about politics, but there is an economic support center. So if really you have a problem, you have no excuse to say, oh, but I don't have any help available. There's always someone here to help you. So, but yeah, you feel very surrounded, and like everyone is available, but it still is a bit weird. You feel like, I'm not going to say lonely, of course, because you get in touch with many people and you make friends straight away, but you spend a lot of time alone, either studying or like just doing your stuff. So it is it's a weird middle you'll find yourself into, and you need to find an equilibrium. But I'm loving it so far. I'm loving it, so it's all good.
And especially in like a city like London, which has a lot of young people and events that you can go to and kind of have fun on the side and get your mind off of things.
You'll meet people during Freshers Week. Yeah, Freshers Week is basically, if you don't know about it, it's the first week of university. What you do is like party all day and night, and you meet loads of people, not only from LSE but different universities. Like, I met people from so different universities now that are my friends. And London is a very exciting place to be in because there's always something happening. There's so many activities to do. It feels a bit overwhelming, and that means that London is huge. You'll see that, first of all, you're going to become broke because of transfer costs. £3 every time you take the tube, going and going back. It really rips you off, but it's a really exciting city to be in, and you love it, probably. You love it.
Out of your, I think, 7 years in EJM?
Yeah, 7 years. Yeah.
Who was your favorite teacher?
Okay, tough question. I feel that for the majority of the teachers I've had so far, they're all great. They all did a really good job, and I thank them for that, because if I'm here, it's in part because of them. But if there was a few to quote, one that was very useful, for example, not in terms of Francis, but for example, my philosophy teacher, Madame Tassel, in the way that she taught us stuff, in the way that she always challenged our answers, and like really encouraged us to have a critical assessment of whatever we read, whatever we said. It really is a skill that I have because of her. Now, every time I write an essay or affirm something, even in like a casual conversation, I'm really trying to have this critical thinking like, what can be said against your argument? How could how can it be countered? Basically, is what you're saying is accurate? Yes or no? And so you sort of start to doubt about everything, but it is still great now, because I know that you sort of realize that you don't know anything and that you can be counter-argumented all the time. But for that, it is a valuable skill, and it allows me to be more scientific in whatever I say. So for that, thank you very much, Madame Tassel. But I really appreciated having Madame Hubert as my French teacher. Her love for literature, her love for teaching, her love for doing extracurricular stuff. You know, she never wanted to start to do the program. So what she would do is like teach us the program, basically ace it, and then go and give us so many extra resource and material about literature, theatre, poetry. It was absolutely fascinating to have her. I didn't really like French so far. I went with her. I managed to get a really, really good grade in my French baccalaureate and really enjoy my last years of French. So thank you for that. Thank you very much, Madame Hubert. I also had an excellent mathematics teacher, Madame Deschlet. So I know some people find her harsh. I think she's very just, and I think she's an excellent mathematics teacher, and it was really nice to have her as my teacher during my lycée. So for that, also, thank you very much. And she enabled me to have a good grade in my math baccalaureate, which allowed me to get into the LSE, so thank you even more. And also, I would say the most memorable I have is Mr. Javelot. So it was my political science teacher, and his love for political science, his love for teaching. You know, every time you'd go in a lesson, it'd basically be a show. He'd just like stand up, he had some notes, for example, to read, but he was so passionate about what he taught. He really wanted us to understand. There was always an absolute silence because everyone was absolutely fascinated by what he said. He's the reason I think I studied politics, to be fair, because I thought it was a cool program, but with him I absolutely loved it, and still continue to enjoy my study of politics because of what he provided me with in the first place. And he's an adorable teacher too. Every time I went to his office hours, tried to get some help. He really tries to help you. He's very nice. So he made my 2 last years of high school absolutely memorable. So for that, thank you very much, Mr. Jabado.
Thank you for your kind words. Actually, Mr. Jabado is like the 3rd teacher referenced in the interviews.
Yeah, well, not a surprise to be fair. Really not a surprise. Not a surprise at all. But just to give credit, he was particular, but I have to give credit to the other teachers who were also like in their own style and in their way really memorable, and particularly the ones I mentioned. For example, some I didn't get to know so much better, which was a shame. I only had Mr. McDermott for a year, or Mrs. GC in the end, but they were adorable and I really loved studying English with them, and I never got bored in any of their classes, and it was really interesting. At first I thought that the OIB, I mean, you guys are BFE now, so you probably won't know it. Sorry, I'm a boomer. But it was really challenging, but with them I felt like it would be okay, and I ended up getting some really good grades too with that. So thank you to them, and thank you to all the ones I didn't cite, but they got me there in the end. So
it's hard to choose. They're all really
It's hard
great.
to choose. There are loads of really good teachers.
And do you have a piece of advice for graduating students of EJM as they're embarking on this new journey to our higher education?
Any piece of advice? Well, first of all, I'm only 2 months into my first year of LSE, and I already miss EJM so much, whether it is some teachers or some classes, but also my friends or the experiences I made there. So really trying to enjoy it as much as possible. There was ups, there was downs, of course, but in the end, there's so much nostalgia, and you'll see you're going to make so many new friends. It's going to be a new journey, but you're going to miss your old EJM a lot. I mean it. But apart from that, first of all, in terms of college applications, always have a plan B. Do not it's cool to have this one dream school you want to get in, but do not put all your I don't know how to say it in English, but investiture émotionnelle is the way I would put it in French. Do not put all your cards in one university, because it's great, but it's always important to have a plan B, and just in case things don't go in your way, to not be so disappointed. And also I'd like to specify that there's a lot of how do you say in English, hazard alia, I would put it that way, in the college applications, as I mentioned before. Yeah. Some people I think that really brilliant, so much smarter than me, they got rejected from LSE, and I think that they deserve 100 times more their place at LSE than I do. So if you get rejected, it's not the end of the world, and what matters most in the end is knowing what you're worth, what you want, and if you have ambition, wherever you go in the end, you'll really be fine. I mean it. I mean, it's probably stressful because you guys are not, for the people who are not at university, you can say, yeah, it's easy to say that once a year into LSE. But I realize that now, the people who are the most determined for their future jobs or whatever they want to do, they're the ones that put in the most work, and then the ones that reach their objectives in the end. Whereas some people just get into a good school, even into LSE, and then start doing absolutely nothing, and then from that it goes downhill. So if you know what you're worth, if you know what you want, whatever is the university you attend or whatever is the path you decide to take, you'll really be fine. So that's what I would say. You'll be fine or whatever. Don't put it all on one school. Diversify your options. Be smart about your college applications, of course. Try to maximize them. I sort of gave some tips for those ones who wanted to study at the LSE. And enjoy it. Enjoy your time as much as possible. It's hard to think about, okay, you have to enjoy it once I'm in the middle of it, but you're going to miss it so much. And I absolutely loved it. And in the end, it was pure happiness. So, voila.
Yeah, hopeful advice. But before, you mentioned stress. Would you describe yourself as before being stressed, or maybe a little bit anxious, overwhelmed by the process? Or yes or no, and why?
To be fair, I mean, what was really stressful is when I didn't get any answers. So I got all of my answers, not pretty late, but they took basically. I got rejected from St. Andrews very quickly, and then I had to wait 2 to 3 months for all of my universities that I applied to answer me. So that was quite stressful, to be fair, not knowing. But
demoralizing, maybe.
So demoralizing, of course. In the end, it ended pretty well. I mean, once I got into UCL, I was very happy, and LSE came on the spot, really at the total end. But no, I think I was pretty much relaxed the whole time, and I knew that either way I would get into some sort of school. If it wasn't to be LSE, it was probably to be UCL. If it's not to be UCL, it would be Prépa. In the end, I knew what I was worth. I knew how much I could work, or the effort I could put into my studies, and I could reach wherever I wanted wherever I want to go. But it's normal to feel stressed. I did feel stressed for loads of things. For example, once I had my offer from LSE, I was so stressed about missing it, and I refused to see myself at the LSE until the moment I got that certificate that says, that's it, you got your mention très bien, so you're going to go. And then I started actually relieving. Not even as a matter of fact, because I continue stressing with the visa application. You'll see if you decide to go to the UK, it is an absolute mess. They're going to ask for all the different places you've been in the past 10 years and precisely when you were there, when you came and when you left. So that was a nightmare, and it cost whatever. But no, in the end, for my college applications, no, I wasn't that stressed in the end. I mean, I was a lot until I got my first offer, so I guess yes, I was. But then I was just thinking, okay, it's life. Now you've sent your application, the ball is in their court, so.
And you're here to show that at the end everything works out, and
I mean, I'm an example that it can work out. I've got some friends, for example, who got offers from LSE, and he missed on them. Unfortunately, they missed out on them. So, advice: when you get your offer, great. It's only you got half of the job done. Like really, when you got your offer, keep up the work. And my advice is refuse to see yourself in the university until you get your offer and get there. I know for the USA it's different. Like for example, you just need to not drop out and not do some criminal stuff. So okay, maybe if you're in the US you can relax a bit more. But for the UK, refuse to see yourself there until you have your offer. Really.
These are the predicted grades that you have to.
I mean.
Reach.
Sorry.
These are the predicted grades they have to reach. Like.
I mean, you have to reach your offer. Predicted grades is a start, like it's what the school provides for you. So
you have to get them.
Yeah. Not even. I think predicted grades is pretty much like to tell the university how good you are academically and what you're going to get. And then with these predicted grades, they're going to decide if you're good enough academically or not. And then they're going to send out an offer. My offer from LSE was to get 16 out of 20 and of average. And what played also is like for my SPE, I got some disappointing grades. I mean, I got a really good grade in math, but for example, in SPE, I was first in my class, I had 18 of average, and then I had 13 in the baccalaureate. And 13 coefficient 16 really hurts, so then I really had to work a lot to be sure I would get my offer. And that's maybe what happened with some people who missed their offers. They got good grades in the SPE and thought, oh great, it's a piece of cake from now on. So just put in the effort as long as you can and don't miss on your offer, and then you'll be fine. Yeah.
And out of curiosity, when did you start thinking about higher education? Maybe it was even before terminal? Or...
Late. Very late to be fair. I mean, I knew I wanted to go to university, but I really started... Yeah, great. Thank you, Charles. Some people
don't want
I've seen in the past some people at UCAS just went into working straight away, I've started to think...
No, you're right to say that.
No, I've... literally, I told you, end of August 2023. I didn't apply to Oxbridge, which I regret. If I was to redo my application, I would have applied to Oxbridge and maybe have done PPE, philosophy, politics, and economics. But I'm still very glad to be at the LSE and study politics and economics in the end. But really, August 2023, I literally opened my laptop, searched rankings. I knew I wanted to. First, I decided I wanted to study politics and economics, study these two disciplines in some way, just study a program that would. Have them both. And I thought, okay, not the US, too expensive, all the great schools, but just too expensive. Okay, where is it good? Okay, England, let's go look into England. I was like, okay, this school looks good, this school looks good, this school looks good. I didn't know what LSE was, to be fair, until mid 2023. I just looked at the different programs. I was like, all right, you're going to study this. And so it came in pretty late. We have some friends who stopped preparing their applications since seconde, maybe. You did, maybe, I don't know, some of you watching, if someone watches, no, just joking. Maybe some of them started pretty early, but no, I started quite late. Everyone's telling me, whoa, but you're starting so late. Oh, but do you not already have 5 personal statement drafts? No, I was quite late. Really put the effort. I spent 3 months really working on that one letter page. Also, advice for the UK, consult the advisors. Literally, they are paid to help you with your applications and they're happy to do it. So, for example, some of my friends, they took 2 to 3 meetings with them. I had Mrs. Davis, which was great, to be fair with me. Really, I took 7 to 8 meetings with her. Every time I had an update on my personal statement, I would go in, have a meeting with her. have a meeting with her, have her read my personal statement. I was telling her, please be honest with me. Don't say, oh, it's good, and then send it in. Like, tell me if it can be better. And so she would go like, okay, this is too general, cut it out. Put like anyone can say that, it doesn't matter. And like two to three times I sent her a personal statement, my version of the personal statement, and she corrected it. Like, it was too long, so then she shortened it. It was amazing. So thank you so much, Ms. Davis, you really did help me. It's partly because of you. I'm here at the LSE, so thank you so much. Consult them. Really, it's free. It can only help. To be fair, I think you can totally do your college applications only with the school's advisors. Really, I mean it. If you decide to go with private ones, fair enough, but these ones are, you already pay for them, so I'm not going to say they're free, but like you already pay for them, so it's not, don't waste a fortune on some advisors. Sorry. So yeah, I did start quite late. Like, some people, they have drafts really well prepared in advance, but as long as you put in the work and really to do your best, like when you need to, your personal statement, it's finished once you know you've done your best and it cannot be better, literally. So hand it out to like different people in your family, have them read it, consult your advisors, put in as much work as possible, and when you feel it's literally perfect and you can't add it, then you can send in your college application. It's so important, really, make it perfect.
You mentioned how your dream job would be to be like an entrepreneur, to a businessman, I believe. But right now, if there's, for example, a moment of specialization that you need to do, you'll do in like your program, for like politics and economics, or for example, like for masters, if you have an idea of what you're going to do in the near future.
Yeah. Well, about my job applications, I don't know some people, they know like, oh, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a lawyer, I want to work into finance. To be fair, I feel like I have to start applying to these finance jobs, in the means that I don't know what my dream job is. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, I'm thinking, okay, maybe you should go and make some money. But at the same time, I'm hesitant. I don't know if finance is what I want to do with my life. So what's very interesting to me so far is consulting, because consulting, I feel like probably the same in finance. To be fair, I don't know enough about it. I've had more research about consulting, but I feel like you never get bored. You always go on and do different missions. You can specialize in so many different stuff. Like, you can advise governments, you can advise firms into revenue maximization, and it's really what I'm looking forward to at the moment. But I feel like in the future I'll probably want to do something else, probably like become an entrepreneur. Most of them are really crappy ideas, but what I've been doing in the past 3 years is every time I have the idea of a business, which essentially comes up when I face a situation and I feel like, oh, there's not a firm that can propose me a solution to this. I'm not going to give them out. Some are really crappy. I'm not like this sort of like new Elon Musk, like really, I emphasize it. But I've been keeping this habit of dropping down some ideas about future businesses, and I hope one day to become an entrepreneur and have my own company. And if not, really whatever job I do, really have an impact. That's why I like consulting, because you consult, but in the end, if you do a good job and the companies that you work with are satisfied, they take in your advice and you have a direct impact on these companies, well, then I would need to start thinking about what companies I want to join, because my goal is not to join total enterprise and then like start ruining ruining our planet even more. And there's really moral questions I have to ask myself. But I would say either consulting, entrepreneur, or maybe politics, who knows? Maybe. I don't think I know enough at all about politics or economics or what would make our societies better at the moment. But it really is not a dream job, but something I think that is really, really fascinating. And maybe, who knows, I'll be your future president in 20 years. If I do run, however, do not vote for me, because I'm this EJM alumni. Really do try to vote if you think what I'm saying is not bullshit. But sorry for the expression, but whatever. Anyways, I think politics is very interesting. Other than that, entrepreneur or consulting, maybe finance, but apart from that, it's still very vague, as you can see, as it's always been. Like, it was very vague, my college applications. Now I'm here, it's still very vague what I want to do, but I'm sure I'll be fine some way. I'll just find my way out. So, and I'm in a great school too.
You're here to learn and discover, and I imagine every day, every lecture, it's something new that you're learning about. Yeah. And last question, how would you define success?
I mean, I think everyone has its own definition of success, because success, I mean, it comprises different goals for everyone. My own definition of success would be finding the best equilibrium between my personal life and my professional life. So professional life, it's going to be complicated since I do not know genuinely what I want to do with my life. But on the other hand, I want to be sure that I'm surrounded by people I love, people I'm genuinely happy with, that I have time to spend with them, that my professional life doesn't take over that aspect of my life. And on the other hand, I want to, literally that's what I want. I want to have a meaningful job. I don't want a bullshit job. I don't want to be bored into it. I want to always do different stuff, which is why I like consulting and entrepreneurship too, because I feel like you could do so many different stuff at the same time. So my definition of success would be finding a good balance between personal life, professional life, being surrounded by people I'm happy with, and having a meaningful job, and just being happy. You know, I don't have. Maybe it's selfish to say that, but in order to be happy and good with myself, I don't think I need to be the president of France or either save the world. I mean, it's great. Ambition is great. If your ambition is to save the world, go ahead, save us. I wish I had the ambition to do that, but I don't think it takes so much to be successful and be happy with your life. To be fair, it's about finding an equilibrium for me. That's then if I'm happy with my personal life and my professional life, I don't have to be the richest man on earth or the most influential man on earth. I will know that my life for me is a success. So, but after all, everyone has its own definition of success. And also, just saying, your success, try to have a positive impact on others, because if your success goes with doing some bad stuff and harming other people, I would not encourage you to follow that path of success. Try to think if you're having a positive impact on other people's lives, or at least not a negative one. That's a global definition or advice I would give to everyone. But like I've said, everyone has its own definition of success. So, voila.
Well, thank you, Charles, for sharing yours and sharing your story in general. This was great.
Thank you. Well, thank you loads. Thank you a lot for inviting me. It was great, and I hope that what I said can, to some extent, actually help some of our fellow alumni or anyone. I don't have the pretension at all to be like this big brain guy who's into the LSE. I consider myself to be very lucky to be there. I think I had, no, not anymore, I just don't care anymore, but the imposter syndrome. But really, like, you don't need to be a genius to get into LSE or any top school. As really most important, know what you want, know what you're worth, know what you're ready to like sacrifice to reach it, and from that you're good. You'll basically be able to do anything, or almost. So, but thank you so much for inviting me.
This is a little thank you for you for doing this interview. It's great that you guys like contribute so much. So this is about like the classical, the Prince, like political philosophy, since it's what you're studying.
Do you want a fun fact?
You read it.
No, I didn't read it. It's this week's lectures.
Oh, really? Thank you for tuning in on this episode of the Anxious Scholar podcast. See you in 2 weeks for the next interview, and don't miss out on any additional information on our Instagram @The Anxious Scholar.